Welcome back, everyone, to Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas. The final week, it's playoff week, and we get the final spot in the top four being given away here between justsaiyan and Zalae. Only one of these players will be joining Bloodyface, Empanizado, and crew over into the top four tomorrow. So he's going to be joining those players, as we did see, Eddie and Empanizado do really well yesterday, and now Bloodyface able to get through today. Saiyan's going to be, once again, no warrior through, which has kind of confirmed that we're not going to see any warriors for Group B. But maybe we see some for the last match with Nalgidan going up against ETC. And so with that, we have our lineup with Saiyan featuring Quest Warlock, Highlander Hunter, and Tempo Demon Hunter. So, it's the match we haven't seen. Zalae, coming from the elimination match, didn't get to play Saiyan before, so I wonder how this head-to-head is going to shape up.
Yeah, we'll see. Zalae, of course, we just saw him win that last match with Poise and piloting that Galakron Stealth Rogue really well as well, and using the Stealth package, which we haven't seen as commonly, so it should be a great match. Just saying, though, you may have mentioned, I didn't hear what you said in the intro, but you might have mentioned, coming off of that reverse sweep loss, which is always tough for a player to get through, but you can almost kind of take comfort in that it's unlikely that it'll happen 2 times in a row, right? Right?
There's a lot of unlikely things that ends up happening, and it's like, is it really that unlikely? But yes, you are correct in the sense that it's statistically unlikely, but yet we've seen crazier things. I've had the pleasure of witnessing 1 in a million events in Hearthstone, which is pretty amazing. But at the same time, you got to really be prepared for the fact that these players also came ready to play, and there also are influential factors like how well you're playing, what your lineup is, and sometimes you don't feel like you're actually super well equipped to deal with things like like Warlock and Hunter and Demon Hunter and some of these other classes that are still doing really well. But overall, one thing that I feel like we've been observing is Warlock today hasn't actually been as dominant as we kind of expected to see it compared to a couple weeks ago. So
yeah, it seemed like the first week there was a lot of kind of surprising plays that you could make with the deck that hadn't quite been figured out yet, And now people kind of know what the limits of the deck are, and so you can play around a little bit easier.
Yeah, and now we get to see the Demon Hunters clash, the Bone Trooper Brawlers collide, and we'll see whose deck list gets to get the edge here in the what looks like to be the mirror, although Tempo Demon Hunter, the mirror still sometimes I feel like doesn't depend on the tech cards nearly as much as how well you're able to find the tempo lines to win the game. So I still think Frozen Shadow Weaver and cards like that are much more impactful in the mirror, even I-Beam compared to before. Which was kind of interesting because in the past we also saw a bunch of people choosing not to even play I-Beam in their deck list, or maybe play like a one of Frozen Shadow Weaver. I feel like that's not really a question anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. People have kind of realized that you need that extra little 3 health and that extra little 3 damage from hand sometimes to push past a minion, and a lot of this matchup really comes from judging whether or not you can afford to put damage into a minion or put minions into minions, and so you're having to keep closer track over all of your different resources, health, mana, minions on board, a lot more intricately in a mirror match. And it's fun to watch. I really actually enjoy mirror matches, and Demon Hunter is a fun one.
All right, well, I got good news for you. We got more mirror matches here.
Hooray.
Yes.
I really mean it, too. I really do like watching mirror matches in Hearthstone. Maybe not like the Priest mirrors or like the old Control Warrior mirrors, but mirrors right now, I think in this meta are okay.
All right. Yeah, some of those mirrors from Specialist meta, we don't talk about those days, though. Where one Control Warrior series was your entire Owl broadcast on the other side of the studio.
Yep, exactly.
TJ and I think our latest was that we started one time on time, and then we went to like 9 or 10 p.m., which was pretty absurd.
Wow. Well, let's look at the starting hands between justsaiyan and Zalae. What do you think about this Bone Chewer Brawler? It's seeming like it's becoming more and more of an important card in the mirror, but he is going to toss it back. Zalae has the opportunity to do the same thing.
Right. So the thing is, it's kind of like what I was saying before. I didn't really anticipate Bone Chewer Brawler being that commonly played. I always thought that at best it was good in the mirror or like helped you curve out against slower decks.
Sure.
The reason why I thought it was decent in the mirror was because those mini taunts ruin a lot of the way things want to attack. It's kind of like if you have a Battle Fiend up and you play a Bone Chewer Brawler, your opponent has to like attack into it and guarantee lose the Battle Fiend, and sometimes have to attack in a weird way that makes them lose a bunch of life as well.
Do you think in that case that Zalae decided to keep his Bone Chewer Brawler because he had the coin? I mean, it's certainly starting to look like that, but do you think that's the only reason?
I think for Saiyan, he needs a 1-drop. Like that's like the one thing that is going into your advantage the most is that you get to have the first minion played.
Sure.
So for Saiyan, probably the onus on him is to like make sure that he has a playable 1-drop, and I think that's really important.
Disregard everything in favor of a 1-drop. Makes sense. Has to commit quite a bit to take out the Bone Chewer Brawler, but you know, we've seen how strong that minion can get, so I think that's warranted.
And what I am curious is that he did keep his Chaos Strike. And I think that might be a nod to things like Bone Chewer Brawler, so that he could end up using that Chaos Strike to climb back onto the board in case he doesn't find that 1-drop. Or rather, maybe not Bone Chewer Brawler, but like help answer battle.
I got you, friend.
This is starting to seem like one of the strongest plays you can make in the mirror right now. That 5-mana Bone Chewer Brawler via the sidekick.
Yeah, and that 5 health is like really problematic.
Good response from Zalae with the Shadow Weaver. It's a little bit awkward for justsaiyan to take out with what's on the board, but what can he find from hand? And I guess you really can't find a lot from hand in this case because you're frozen, so you can't attack.
Right. He could still set up the Umberwing just for the actual board presence of it, but yeah, can't actually attack here, which is how he ends up dealing with it. I think for the most part, he's just going to go ahead and ignore it and go face.
Yep.
And that's something that like Zalae still has to pick up the pieces for. He has Altruist, but no way to actually capitalize on it right now.
Got all the legendaries right now, man. Altruist, Kane, Metamorphosis. Everything in his hand right now.
Yeah, no, I think that you might be correct. That might be all the legendaries in the deck.
I think so.
All I see is weakness.
All right. Yeah. Only taking 4 damage, which isn't the greatest feeling ever, but at least it's not more, you know. And you do get another stater, so it's more for your opponent to deal with.
Yeah, so I think that's why I find the Bone Chewer Brawler useful, is because it like disrupts, and like if you can get that 4 damage scenario that we were talking about, it ends up becoming like problematic later on if Saiyan chooses to raise. That 4 extra damage, while you know, is definitely a lot. I don't think anyone's going to argue that 4 damage isn't like a significant amount in the mirror, but like it just puts it changes the rules, and very similar to like how Hunter mirrors worked in the past, where it's like very clearly the identifying factor between who's the aggressor and who is the defender in this matchup is purely based off of health totals. And I think that right now Saiyan is very much in the driver's seat, and even though Zalae has the opportunity to eventually climb back with his quality of the cards in hand, that 4 extra damage is really big here.
Yeah. Now he's looking at a situation where he needs to find a way to get rid of this 6/4. And you don't really have a clean way to do it. You know, there are ways, but all of them end up using, you know, a card and the hero power, and you take 6 damage. You know, I guess I-Beam gives you a way to mitigate some of that damage, but it costs 3 mana right now.
Yeah, this is tough. I am very worried for Zalae.
I think so.
Okay. What if we Kane Sun Fury and then kill the small things? And then next turn we can Altruist and I-Beam and clear off the Blade Bound of Death.
I think that's reasonable. I think the only sort of tricky part, and it looks like that is more or less what he's going for, The only tricky part is that you do leave yourself open to a lot more damage that way. Whoa, just sends it to face. All right.
I like it. Good job, Zalae.
Yeah,
I like it because it's like one of those things where like, what does this communicate to Saiyan? Saiyan's like, oh, do I just ignore this? This is a pretty healthy Kane, and like, if I end up having to fall behind in the race because like I don't have the Glaive Bound Adept, is that am I gonna just fall too far behind? So this is posturing for Zalae. Obviously, he doesn't actually mean that he's gonna be able to kill his opponent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, it is kind of intimidating for Saiyan to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his hand now, Skull of Gul'dan could set him up for a pretty strong Altruist turn later. But it's like you mentioned, there's now, you know, thinking about his hand is compounded by wondering what Zalae's plan is because of that seemingly maybe a little bit over-aggressive play last turn.
I mean, he has Altruist in hand as well, so he can save everything.
I think that's what you pretty much have to do in this case, because you can still clear the Kane, still have a 6-1 alive.
I think Satyr Overseer is also worth considering being played here. It's just one of those cards where like it continues to improve the earlier you get it on board, and
it's free, so
one damage with Altruist sometimes.
Yeah, I like it. All right, so Altruist I-Beam, you could still do it, but now it feels a lot worse, and you can see Zalae kind of agonizing a little bit over this decision.
Yeah, it was mainly the fact that he picked up a 2-mana card. He really wanted a 1-mana card, so that way he could clear everything.
That too.
Okay, so I think... Oh, jeez. Okay.
You know, you have to get rid of the Satyr, so...
I grow impatient.
All right, so Altruist I-Beam on the Satyr Overseer gets rid of the Glaive-Bound Adept and the Satyr Overseer and the Sidekick, so you're left with just a 2-1 on the board on your opponent's side, right? So
yeah,
it's not so bad, and he's kind of doing the same thing but reverse order, where he's just putting the attack into the minion that would survive. Yeah. All right, that actually ended up not so bad.
it's just not ideal because now his Altruist is pretty open, and like that's one big comeback mechanism that's been used. So Saiyan's range, like in terms of what Zalae can do, it's been narrowed down significantly. So from this perspective, Saiyan could actually just play the entire right side of his hand that isn't Metamorphosis right now. Although the Chaos Strike would mean that Saiyan doesn't get that Umberwing damage. Another thing worth considering is it good to just start playing Metamorphosis? Your opponent just kind of showed what they've been saving their cards for, so you can just maybe IB Metamorphosis and hit base for 5, and next turn Altruist and go for it, and do the same exact thing.
He's doing it, and I like it too, because this puts you 5 damage closer to lethal and gives you just a lot more burst potential.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, Zalae, all right, so he finds a skull.
Oh, big draw. Actually, is it the same thing where he should just Metamorphosis race now?
I mean, you're at around the same health total, so you could. I guess the danger is that you end up with something that doesn't allow you to play the skull next turn, which is probably part of the factor of playing it now.
Okay, Vampire Scoundrel, can that change anything? He's incentivized to play it right now so that he can get that board presence.
I think so. And if you end up with something like Twin Slice, you can use that with Satyr Overseer. Well, actually, you can still play your hero power, but either way, you can use it with Satyr Overseer to get yourself a little bit more board presence.
I'm also even thinking Mana Burn is really good in this position.
Yeah,
because you just limit your opponent's range, and you have like really powerful options next turn. You have Metamorphosis, Glaive Bound Adept at your hand, and that's a lot of burst.
Right. Just gonna go ahead and attack. You actually pick the Chaos Strike, which will be useful in future turns to draw. Try a little bit of attack anyway. So, unfortunately for him, Altruist is looking pretty good for Just Saiyan this turn.
Yeah. So Altruist hero power does at least 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's close to lethal.
Yeah, it does a lot. And just being able to clear your opponent's board, too, is really, really good.
I mean, it's always like, oh gosh.
Yeah. It's like, in the mirror matchup, whoever has a better Altruist turn is usually a lot more favored to win, and that's definitely Just Saiyan this time around.
Yeah.
Thinking for a moment about the Bone Chewer Brawler.
There's validity to it. You're at 21 though, and yes, your opponent's holding one card from Skull Gul'dan, but I don't not sweat much here.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, it's hard to play that when you could just be doing other 5 with Metamorphosis like we just saw. 4 health for Zalae. Ooh, and that, I don't know if that really helps you survive too much.
I'm brewing. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I think Chaos Strike. No, he doesn't have Altruist anymore. This is death.
Yeah, he just doesn't have enough to clear the board. And Warglaives, I mean, that'd be great if you had more than 4 health, but you don't. And he's just going to end it right there. Just Saiyan, taking game number 1 in the Demon Hunter Mirror.
Yeah, job well done. Saiyan pretty much just kind of took control of the game. That Chaos Strike keep was pretty interesting to me still. And I wonder if that's something that I'm doing wrong when I don't have the 1-drop in hand, because I usually full mull in that situation to try to get a 1-drop.
Yeah.
And I think Saiyan's identifying that, like, if he's behind, he doesn't want to be able to be too far behind off of any 1-drop, so he just keeps the Chaos Strike. And I think that is like a really good it's a really good like example of how even if you do think conservatively, like people say like, oh, like people always love giving advice that's more aggressive, right? Like, oh, you should be always mulliganing optimistically. Oh, you should be always playing to your outs. But like sometimes playing safe does end up being really beneficial, and saying having that like keep, does it end up paying off exactly the way he wanted to? Probably not. But like at the same time, he's able to still keep up in tempo versus his opponent.
Yeah, and if you can make your safe play still playing to an advantage at the same time, where if you Chaos Strike, remove an early minion, and draw a card, you know, you're still coming out ahead in that particular case in a lot of games. So I think it's good. That's a good note. Definitely something I'm going to take to the ladder.
That's right. That's right. So Saiyan off to a good start. Not something that we're surprised by. Saiyan you know, he always seems to be getting off to like quick starts here, maybe up 2-1 or 2-0. But, you know, closing out the series can sometimes be the hardest part.
I mean, honestly, like if you're just saying right now, maybe you don't even want to go 2-0 in the first part of the series. You're like, because you don't want to put yourself in that feeling again, that mental pressure where it's like, I only need to win 1 more game, but I lost 3 in a row in my last series. Or sometimes you go 1-1 and you're like, all right, I can calm down. It's a normal series. I can set that aside. We'll see. I'd still take the 2-0, but it's going to be Warlock versus Demon Hunter now. And Zalae opting to keep the Bone Chewer Brawler again, which as we've seen in the past can be kind of annoying for the Warlock player to deal with if it takes a little bit of damage early on.
All right,
So,
well, for Saiyan's perspective, this is a hand that you can entertain keeping. I think Wind of Fire, Mortal Coil, Nether Breath all do too much of the same thing, so I think one of them has got to go. This is like one of those SAT questions where you kind of have to figure out by association what's like better versus not.
sure, keeps the one that heals. I think that's not a bad decision. And he's rewarded with a plot twist and a Dark Skies, which is a better, like you said, kind of mix of cards usable in more situations. Wow. What a curve for Zalae, though. Battle Fiend into Umberwing, that is smooth for the Demon Hunter.
Oh yeah, big time. I wonder if in Saiyan's mind he's okay taking this damage. It looks like he is. I thought
so.
that there might be some merit to using removal here. Nether Breath doesn't give him the health, but he gets the damage, right? If you do, you end up like saving 3 health.
Sure. That's true.
But I think it's too crucial for the Warlock's win condition to keep drawing cards and get your quest done and having more options. And Dark Skies gets better, right, with more cards in hand. So
Right, you're gonna have 8 cards in hand the next turn, so you're still gonna be able to clear the board. Since we're looking at, 7 health total on the board right now. So, I think that's fine.
Yeah, seems totally fine.
This Warlock deck, we've seen it more and more, or over and over rather, is that there's so much healing in it too, that taking some damage, going sub 20 early on is something you can come back from a lot.
Yep.
There's a Dark Skies. And now it's on Zalae to build back up again. Ooh, what do you think about Parascoundrel Mana Burn here?
Mana burning isn't super important against Warlock in the late game, so I mean, Mana Burn always makes the most sense earlier than later.
Yeah, that's why I like it now.
Yeah, bigger portion of their mana crystals. I guess, like, well, the thing is, if you Mana Burn, they just, like, life tap, and then it's like, well, it doesn't really feel like it accomplished much either. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Maybe you have a situation where you make them pay, they're going to pay a little bit more than they want to, but I don't know. I guess Warlock doesn't really want to play a whole lot of cards at this point too, so yeah, maybe just the 1 damage is better. Maybe Mana Burn just isn't as useful of a card in this matchup.
It's definitely more for the tempo-based matchups, especially like the mirror, because you can pay 1 to make them have 2 less mana. And I mean, sometimes it's even just like powerful to play on 1 if you have like an awful hand and you need to like reset and get board tempo. But in this matchup in particular, I think that there's actually uses for it later in the game and not necessarily right now. And also if you think about, like, you want to aggro your opponent down, so 1 damage push actually is relevant here for the demon.
Big plot twist for justsaiyan. He's going to get a lot of progress towards finishing that quest. And what does he draw? Oh, all right. 1 Broodmother. Not too bad. Back up to 24. Now, Zalae did pull the Metamorphosis out of the Volpera Scoundrel as well, so having access to 2 of those this game is pretty strong
sick.
too. Yeah.
Super good.
It is very good.
So this is a turn where I think he has to debate if he wants to go for just like raw tempo or if he wants to just like take it even slower. I think this is a turn where you can consider mana burning. Turn 6 seems to be like kind of important to keep open for your Gladebound Adept. If you go for Metamorphosis, you still are stuck in the same position where you can't Gladebound Adept on 5. Or sorry, you can't Gladebound Adept on 6 because you still have the Metamorphosis hero power.
Sure.
So that makes me lean towards a Gladebound Adept hold and playing Bone Trooper Brawler. Unless Zalae wants to do the thing that Blightface did, which was play the Gladebound Adept just as a 6/4 for tempo.
Does tend to force a reaction. You are thinking about the Abyssal Summoner turn. For your opponent, I suppose. Oh, no, you're not. They're going to turn 6. Or 5, rather. But, yeah, just going to go ahead and play it as a 6/4. 14 out of 20 for justsaiyan right now. Draws the coin, so he could actually go for the Summoner, but no. The Crazy Netherwing makes a lot more sense here. Coin into Mortal Coil. Yeah, that should be the play, and it is.
Yeah, I mean, he was unhappy to see it. That's probably the #1 reason why you want to play the Gladebound Adept of the Bone Chewer Brawler, outside of the fact that it's expensive and it's nice. It's at 4 health.
Yeah.
And, Zalae obviously not happy to see that.
I mean, at least you've got the extra Metamorphosis right now, so you can maybe feel a little bit more comfortable about playing that and then just killing the 5/5 with it, because you know you've got another one in your deck. Normally, I wouldn't advocate for that, but maybe it's okay this time. All right. Otherwise, yeah, you get to establish 6/4. You do take 5 damage this way, but you're the one with the minion at the end of the turn.
Right. He's trying to set up his damage to just come through waves, right? Gotta threat check this. Don't let him play things pretty easily. But perhaps because Zalae has 2 copies of Metamorphosis now, it makes him feel a lot more confident about what he can do. Mana burn in this situation is actually fairly relevant, again, if he chooses to go for Metamorphosis in this position.
True. Checks the quest, 16 out of 20.
Jeez, this is looking good for the Warlock.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of... you've got pretty much all the tools you want to be able to handle whatever the Demon Hunter throws at you. Twisting Nether's sitting there. You've got 2 big taunts in your hand.
The other
You've
play
got
is
the
to
plot
just
twist.
Demons?
yeah. The other play is to go for a wide board. You already saw a Crazed Netherwing being played. Even Morticoil makes you feel like Umberwing gets better. So if you Frozen Shadow Weaver, freeze a 3/3, play the Umberwing and the Bone Chewer Brawler. It makes it so that Saiyan doesn't have good Dark Skies. He's 1 turn off from Twisting Nether. Just played a Crazed Netherwing. It's reasonable. It's not great, but it's reasonable.
Well, we already did see 1 Dark Skies get played too, so Zalae is, could be even thinking that it's less likely that his opponent has it to begin with, to even consider using. Questing Explorer is the draw here, but it's 7 mana.
Yeah, I feel like this might be a good opportunity to consider just dropping stats on the board by playing a Summoner. The other is to just finish your quest and go for
just
a
plot
tap.
twist. Yeah, I kind of like that, actually. It looks like that's what justsaiyan's thinking. Because everything else, I mean, you could tell, like, everything else just feels a little bit bad. You know you're going to get to use your new hero power here. And he does draw the Nether Breath as well, and it is active. Ooh, and he draws the dragon too. Huh.
Alright, so hero power. Oh, wait. Yeah, the Crazed Netherwing is
Sacrifice
so
Keldon for the
good.
dragon.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that. Nice. A fun boss from a Burning Crusade dungeon, but fodder for the dragon instead. Twin Slice. All right, so there's possibly some big plays with Skull of Gul'dan here.
Do you go for the Metamorphosis first? You already just saw another Arnasi Broodmother drawn.
That's the question.
Also, setting your opponent down to 14 is still kind of, ambiguous. Like, are you going to die? You can't Alexstrasza yourself back up that much.
Right. And again, it is an extra Metamorphosis. So even if he doesn't get a whole lot of use out of this, even if somehow that damage gets healed, you can still draw another one out of your deck. But he's going to go with the Skull instead, so just wanting to see what other options he can give himself. And there's
That's
a cheap
also
Warglaves.
Oh, jeez, that's really good.
Right.
Cheap Warglaves. Gets the push.
Do 5 damage to face and clear the dragon this turn.
Right, which is kind of the same spot that we were talking about, which is putting 14 and presenting threats. I like that.
Yeah, and you get your Warglaves on the board, too.
Is it gold in the shadow?
Just going to go for the freeze instead. And the mana burn, all right.
I mean, Zalae was, I think, one of the players playing Mana Burn straight up in his deck list in the past.
So 6 mana now for justsaiyan, not able to get the full 8 because of the mana burn, and that does put you in a little bit of an awkward spot. See what he draws. Oh, well, it's a good thing the Warglaves weren't down there, but I guess that's going to be an answer for it later.
Right. Saiyan not going to take the risk. Go ahead and just play the Nether Breath plus the Questing Explorer.
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
This is some big Warglaive turns.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I guess you can Chaos Strike first.
You certainly can. See what you draw. I would feel bad if the game ends with this Metamorphosis in the hand still.
Impatient.
It might be time to start going with Metamorphosis.
I feel like there's been opportunities, and he hasn't chosen to take those lines of play, and it's difficult to say what would have been better at this point in the game.
Well, now he's legitimately a 2-turn setup, and the board is still manageable. He can play Metamorphosis. He can Hero Power first, play Metamorphosis.
Right. And also playing Metamorphosis now and setting up for a bigger Warglaves turn later plays around Swamp Ooze. But this is still going to be a good amount of damage. We know the Warglaves aren't going to last.
Well, I mean, even if they don't
really
last,
need
they
to?
got the damage in.
Yeah, I suppose there's only going to be 1 charge on it left, isn't there? 12 health, though.
Yep.
Going into 9 mana, you're a little bit worried about this. I guess you're not that worried until 10 mana, but still.
Oh
Oh,
my
man.
goodness.
Oh, wow.
Huge
I mean-
pickup. You just negated basically a Metamorphosis hero power.
That's such a crazy turn. Not just to heal yourself with the Alexstrasza, but also to take out the weapon. Oh, that's so rough. Kane's Sun Fury.
5 from the Metamorphosis, 2 from the Chaos Strike, so that's 7, 10 from Kane Fury, 11 through Second Slice, 12 through the hero power.
Could have maybe drawn into lethal.
That's it, though. Looks like he's
But
dead.
nope.
Oh, no, unless he Kane's and Metamorphosis Alexstrasza.
I guess that keeps you alive, but you know, is it going to be? Are you going to be able to win the game from there? You know, what else does he have?
Well, he has another Metamorphosis in his deck, and he has Skull of Gul'dan #2, so I think he has to start banking on that.
I think he's got one more Glaive Bound, if I remember right, as well. So maybe the tools.
Interesting. I think he played both of them because he used one of them to just play on the board, but
Demon.
might be
Yeah, you're right.
misremembering.
Could be.
Demon.
At this point in the day, you've watched so many games of Demon Hunter that it's easy to have it all kind of run together a little bit.
Going face, but
Whoa.
he trades a little bit, so he says you have to at least have Soul Fire to kill him. You can't just kill me with Plague of Fire. Oh, and if he uses the Second Slice, he also stops the Rain of Fire from killing from the tie. Okay. Well, I mean, Saiyan is gonna win by as little as possible because Zalae, if he put that extra damage in, would have actually forced a tie scenario.
Yep. 1 HP remaining, and Zalae has to laugh about that.
Yeah. That's one of those things where Zalae is like, I was like thinking so hard about like all my possibilities off the top of my deck, I just forgot about shutting out one possible out from my opponent.
And at the end of the day, there's just so many things to think about that you really can't fault him that much for missing that one, you know, line of play, which ended up being the one that got his opponent the win. But still, you got to be thinking about a billion different things at once in a game of Hearthstone, and once in a while, even the best players miss something.
That's right. So with that, you know, we have Saiyan up 2-0, 1 game away from being able to advance to the top 4. He's not
Once
unfamiliar
again.
with this exact position.
He's been in it already today, in fact. Yeah. 2-0 lead over Bloody Face. That ended up being a 3-2 victory for his opponent. So it is a situation that he has not had a great experience with today, but now he's got another chance. Same deck even. Needs a win with Hunter. He's got 3 games to do it in. Let's see if try number 2 works out for Just Saiyan here as we get the game started. Gonna have to go up against Demon Hunter first.
Yes, Demon Hunter coming in hot once more for Zalae.
Bone True Brawler showing up in a lot of decks this week, actually. Were there that many last week? I think maybe I saw 1 or 2, but didn't seem like as many as this time.
Wow. What an opening hand for Saiyan. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you actually serious? That
That
is
is-
like almost all his entire early game. And he just happened to draw it. Okay.
That is a curve. Zalae sees it and he's like, I've got nothing. I've got
Okay,
nothing to answer this Battle Mage right now.
Saiyan's got 2 1-drops in his entire deck. Blazing Battle Mage and Dwarven Sharpshooter.
1 drops in his hand, too. Oh. You hate to see it. The 4 damage Battle Mage.
Step up!
Brutal.
Oh, maybe more than that now. Almost certainly more. Wow, pretty crazy start for Just Saiyan.
Probably Volpera Scoundrel time. And I think
Yep.
if he can pick up cards like Immolation Aura, he should highly consider getting it.
Soul Cleave? Yeah. I guess that's what you have to do. You have to find a way to deal with the board somehow.
Okay. Dwarven Sharpshooter looks pretty good here.
Yeah. Would you use it to help clear with the Battle Mage, or would you just send everything to face?
I would probably clear the Volpera Scoundrel.
Seems
Oh
the safest
my.
way to go, but gonna go for Zephyrus.
Holy
Interesting.
smite.
Wow, yeah. Holy smite will do it. Well, it's another line of play. Establishes the 3-2 on the board and gets some more damage done. Soul
Right.
Cleave is, potentially good if it doesn't hit the Bone Chewer Brawler, but if it does, then it's suddenly really bad. Plays
Right.
his own Bone Chewer Brawler, and at least he has a beaming sidekick for this. I don't mind this.
Sure, but that's where the Dwarven Sharpshooter is super nutty.
Yeah, that too. Well, you can't make the assumption if it's in your opponent's hand. If you're Zalae, you just kind of have to hope. Dragonbane.
This Dragonbane is so interesting. I wonder if you're supposed to pick it up. Or sorry, supposed to play it. Of course you're supposed to pick it up. Next card in your deck.
I
like
think it's
it.
great, actually. Yeah, use the minions. Why not? You can clear the board with what you have, and it's really unlikely that the Demon Hunter player is going to be able to handle this.
Yeah, you love to see it. The tempo generated through the Zephrys is so big. Like, you might think Zephrys is really good as a finisher card, but look at what path Saiyan's on now. He's pushing damage every single turn just a little bit,
Right.
while also staying ahead on board by a couple minions.
Well,
And now Zalae can't respond fast enough.
Just Saying is basically like a snowball rolling downhill. It's getting bigger and bigger each turn. So it's not just that he's keeping up, he's getting scarier each turn too.
Sure.
So now you're looking at the possible damage for next turn is crazy, right? 7 plus 9 plus 5, like 14 damage possible without even taking into account any of the cards in his hand.
Right.
Wow.
Well, if you look at Zalae's hand actually makes him kind of look like as if he is like the control player, even though he's supposed to be the aggressor in this matchup, which is why I really love the line that Saiyan took. Man, of course, it kind of took a very godlike hand for him to get to that point.
I guess. Okay, he's gonna
Yeah, I
go
think he
for
has
the
to
King Sun
kill.
Fury. Yeah. That hurts. I thought maybe you Soul Cleave because it kills the Brawler and you heal for a little bit, but either way, you don't do anything about the Dragonbane here, but at least maybe you can avoid some of the damage.
Yeah. Now back over to Saiyan. This is a interesting spot for several reasons. One, the best play might actually not be the hero power, and it looks like he agrees. Because if he plays Dwarven Sharpshooter, then that means he's playing Acidic Swamp Ooze? That doesn't seem that good of an idea when your opponent has
Right.
the opportunity to play the Warglaives next turn.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you're setting yourself up for a very strong turn in the future if you do that. Build 7 mana Umberwing. All right. So this does really kind of shut down Zalae too, because he can kill, at least he can kill the Dragonbane with Soul Cleave, but now you've got this 5/5 to worry about.
I grow
That's kind of this
impatient.
cascading sort of like cycle of scary cards that Just Saiyan has been able to pump out. But if Zalae can deal with it, then Just Saiyan's aggression might come to a bit of a screeching halt, and he's only done 8 damage overall.
Yes, it is kind of tempting to think, oh, I'm at 22, I'm like kind of safe-ish, but you really got to take your health very seriously against Hunter.
Sure.
And Saiyan, once again, probably really happy to see no meaningful development, so he gets as much development as he can afford to. The Diving
Griffin's a good pickup.
Griffin, yeah, it's not like the best card, but it is a card you can play, and I think that's the one thing that he was worried about. If Saiyan did not have meaningful development this turn, then he would have had all this build up for nothing.
Yeah, I think the Griffin gives you a good
I wonder-
response to any sort of development your opponent tries to bring. But this turn does feel a little bit lackluster overall.
Well, he could just, I think playing the Griffin here just on the board is totally valid.
Just do it?
Yeah, I think that's totally valid. I think that it's actually kind of important to do that so you understand what tool you're going to work with for the rush that you get. And if you get Zixer, you can just play Zixer. If you get like something else that you can't play that I'm not thinking of, the Basis Corruptor,
Yeah.
that I don't even think is in Saiyan's deck, then you can go ahead and just play the Dwarven Sharpshooter.
Yeah, he's not running the Faceless Corruptor, just a Zixor for his other charge minion, or rush minion rather,
Yeah.
as we can see. Nothing but a bunch of big bats. That's what he's saying?
I think so.
I think so too.
I don't want to hear the PG-13 version of that. Whatever he calls me. You know, fun fact,
No
Dwarven
comment.
Sharpshooter was originally supposed to be the card for Hunter Ace.
Oh, really?
Since he's like a, yeah.
Oh,
He's like a guy that never misses, so to speak.
It's an ace hunter. I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, Glavebound Adept is a nice play here because it does deal with the 5 damage minion on the board. Obviously, the Dwarven Sharpshooter makes it a little bit easier to deal with the Glavebound Adept from Just Saiyan's side, but not unless he wants to run the Zixor into it, which I guess you do in this case.
Yes, you want to remove that Glavebound Adept as soon as you can.
Yeah.
General recommendation against
Wow.
the class.
Is this gonna? I just realized, is this gonna be a game where we actually get to see a Grand Slam played?
Yeah.
Might be.
Grand Slam is a good card. It's just very expensive, and a lot of times it's like kind of an insurance policy for Hunter because they're like playing Dino Tamer Brand. If you had Dino Tamer Brand, for example, that Grand Slam would still never get played.
Yeah. And oftentimes the game just ends before you really get an opportunity. There's another Metamorphosis for Zalae, but he has the skull to think about too.
So a really important moment here just happened, which is Saiyan's aggression completely faded just now. He basically just played nothing. That makes me think that if I'm Zalae, I might be able to just go ahead and start playing cards like Skull Dan. Because that makes me feel like he's holding cards that are either reactionary, kind of like things like Corrosive Breath and things of that sort. Which he probably would have used last turn anyways if he did have it. And, you know, things like Unleash the Hounds. Or the other option is that he is Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, and I need to get ahead, like, while I can.
Yeah. All right. The I-Beam on the Sharpshooter. I guess that's one way to get rid of it. I don't know how afraid of it you are now, but not a lot of power there. But then again, there is an Altruist, so maybe you save this for next turn. Yeah, I guess that's the plan.
Yeah, it still costs 1 no matter what for Altruist because you can't play it before you go to the Outcast. If you play it before it goes to Outcast position, it costs 0. If it goes to Outcast position, it costs 1.
Right.
So it's kind of a tricky situation there. Plus, he doesn't even guarantee if he draws another expensive card.
Yeah, that's the hope now for Zalae that he doesn't, I guess.
Right, and just look at Saiyan.
Ooh.
He's just like dropping the ooze. He's like, okay, you are fishing hard. I'm going to pressure. If you do have War Glaive, you're probably going to use it to clear off this minion. I'm going to try to set up lethal.
So he could go for an Altruist play here. He'll have the mana, even if I-Beam does go back to 1 to get to those other 0-cost cards from the right side of his hand.
Yeah, it's definitely one option. I'm thinking about if I can even go even greedier, Doa. Can I get even greedier? And I'm not kidding you. Like, I got to think about like Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. Can I set up an Altruist that deals 8 damage to my opponent?
It's a great question.
So I think that would require him to play Satyr Overseer this turn and play... I think he also does want to play I-Beam, so I think he would get rid of the outside cards somehow. Or even play Metamorphosis this turn. Which honestly looks...
You're at 11 health. And, alright. So it looks like he's going to go for the Overseer play.
Okay.
But that means that there's not going to be any more, but at least he can attack in.
Okay.
Well,
okay, I like this too, actually. So this play is, if you got Dragon Queen, go for it. I'm going to have things set up beforehand. Saiyan has 2 damage from Unleash the Hound, 7 through Kill Command, 9 through the Hero Power.
And
oh, sorry.
No, okay.
An extra damage because of the Satyr being summoned.
The Rottennest Drake doesn't have a Dragon Activator, so it's just a regular minion. So it doesn't look like a great option this time, but Unleash Kill Command.
Yeah, it's strange, right? Like, you always feel like
Yeah.
Unleash the Hounds gets better when you have Satyr's Overseer on the other side, but I don't think he can afford to wait here. Outrus is way too threatening. His Kill Command has to be going on a minion, too.
Right. Yeah, the Hunter has just really run out of steam for the moment, but next turn, the Grand Slam, depending on what he draws, could change a lot of that.
Yeah.
But Zalae is just getting all the time in the world to set up enough damage to maybe win the game.
Okay, Skull of Gul'dan is another option right here, and that would just set him up the best possible way over 2 turns.
Skull seems like the play.
Impatient.
I also like Metamorphosis this turn as well. I think that's also very good. I also am totally okay with like Volpera Scoundrel scout what's in the box, and then when based off that, like flood the board. Even your opponent just played Unleash the Hounds.
Sure. Blade Dance is... Well, none of this is really super inspiring, I guess. Blade Dance is probably the most impressive. Yeah, you picked it up. So I think another thing is if you're thinking about Grand Slam coming in at 10 mana too, you probably want to get get a few minions down on the board to avoid the possibility of just dying, you know?
In the shadows.
Hey, I got you, friend.
Yeah, sure. Unleash the Hounds also was just used.
Yep.
Right. It's kind of like what I was saying. One of those things where, like, if Saiyan let his opponents extend onto the board, he would have had like Unleash Lethal. But of course, the threat of that board is way too high.
Yeah. What's he draw? Desert
All right.
Spear. So here we go.
It's time.
Grand Slam. Where's it gonna go? If it all goes face, it does kill him. Oh no.
Okay. That was
All right then. That was a turn.
holy cow.
Just saying, agonizing a little bit. What's the damage now? All right, let's see. 7 on board, 8 with the weapon. So he would need quite a bit. I guess Warglaives is something, but maybe. Now you kind of wish Metamorphosis was out, huh?
Well, I mean, obviously, yes. Just we don't have the mana all these turns. I think this is a Blade Dance turn as well.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you don't play Metamorphosis this turn, you might not get a chance to simply because your opponent can hero power you down.
Right, right.
So to me, this looks like Zalae has to play cards like Metamorphosis or just accept the fact that he needs to get lucky with I-Beam. But Warglaze and Blade Dance is the most amount of effective tempo here.
Yeah, you can clear really
one.
efficiently.
It's the hero power. Play Blade Dance. So just slightly inefficient across the board.
Yeah, a little bit. 5 HP. We've got your opponent down to 13.
Oh,
he's
is that a
3.
corrosive breath? I think it
Oh,
is.
that
Saiyan
should
is
be
going
it.
to win 3-0
Wow.
and shut down Zalae's comeback through the lower bracket. Zalae played excellently, only lost once in playoffs, but that's the downside of being Division B. And Saiyan is going to advance as your final top 4 participant. Hell of a season again by Zalae, who pretty much promised us. Exactly like 1 season ago around this time. Zalae was on the relegation floor, and he was very close to being in that danger spot. And he came on the broadcast and said that he's going to come back swinging next season. He felt like he didn't take it seriously enough the previous year, and that he really wanted to show and honor those that he's playing in the place of. And this season, I mean, look at him, 6-1 in Division B after a couple of rough beats at the beginning, almost making it to the top 4, finishing 5th, tied for 5th in Grandmasters. So again, great season to him, and we'll see him back next time.
Yeah, and big story for Just Saying, too, getting the 3-0 that he was denied earlier in the day against Gallon. Or not against Gallon, but either way, against Bloodyface, rather. But getting to the Final 4 tomorrow. Should be fun.
That's right. So with that, that's going to be leading us to our last match of the day, which is going to be ETC versus Naoki. A match where the winner of this gets to stay in Grandmasters and the loser has to fight against Purple for relegation entirely tomorrow. So, as much as we see some playoff hopes crushed, we're going to see some Grandmasters dreams live on after this next series. So, Do and I are going to take our final break of today. And when we come back, we're going to have the concluding series of here on Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas, D number 2.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network. T-Mobile,